For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Sashni Mudley. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me today to discuss part 2 of his opinion piece, 25 Years of Democracy. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
Now, you referred to the absence of debate mainly in the ANC. If one were to cast the net wider and consider all political parties and their interactions with the ANC, is it valid to speak of an absence of debate?
Much of the debate between political parties has started to take on the form of conventional parliamentary parties where instead of analysing the problems of the day, you say that's just like the ANC. They always do this. We're going to put a poster about this, that and the other. Or in the case of the ANC, the DA are just white racists living in the past. So there's not really serious debate. But even in Parliament, the way Parliament is structured is not the same as a meeting in a hall where when someone says something and someone disagrees, they stick up their hand and then they debate it. In Parliament, what happens is you have a list. And if I want to speak, I may be number 5 or maybe number 12. If I disagree with something that's said by number 2 on the other side, I can't speak then. I have to wait for two hours or maybe 2 days. And I think that doesn't make the debate become stylized. One person speaks and the engagement with other people is mainly through points of order or through heckling and things like that. So that there's not real, in my view, there's not real debate in Parliament. There are announcements sometimes, but it's not structured in a way that is conducive to debate, by which I mean interrogating, examining the meaning of ideas and the character of problems and the diverse solutions that may need to be discussed. Now, there's not a serious engagement. Anyone looking at it will see that they're trying to put this one down or put this one down and so forth. And that's not debate, in my opinion.
And are you not romanticizing the days of the struggle? You referred to intolerance of different views, but there was not extensive suppression of dissent in the ANC, notably in exile.
There was, not just in exile, as you say, notably, inside the country as well. There was quite a lot of intolerance of the black consciousness movement, beating up of people, things like that. And in exile, I didn't believe it at the time. People were arrested and held in these camps, Quatros, the one best known, and tortured, things like that. And some people who went there don't even know to this day why they were arrested. So there are quite scandalous things that happened. And inside the country, I think one must understand the culture of the time where everyone was facing great dangers. And there was a mentality of being under siege from the apartheid regime, so that when people were busy attacking who you saw as the real freedom fighters, there was a tendency to see them as working for the enemy. And that led to quite a lot of intolerance. It's not excusable for that reason, but there was quite a lot of intolerance. But within the ANC, within the UDF, there was a lot of debate. Right up till 1992, if you look at the African Communists in 1992, Joe Slovo had proposed this sunset clause, and all sorts of people were attacking Joe Slovo or defending Joe Slovo in the leadership. And it sets quite a good example. Some ANC, not all communists. Now, it sets a good example to the membership that nothing said by a top leader like Joe Slovo was beyond debate. So there was more than one tendency.
And when you speak of the need, you speak of the need to go beyond the ANC to recover a tradition of debate. And what do you have in mind? Does this include new parties?
Not necessarily parties. Everyone thinks of parties because nowadays, because we have the vote, everyone says, well, let's just vote them out. And my feeling is that elections are insufficient for democratic participation of citizens, in that we only vote every 5 years. And what happens in between then? Do we just watch? And there used to be a lot of organizations, people coming together around particular issues that concerned them. You found this against Zuma, where sometimes business people, sometimes people from educational institutions or faith-based organizations would march or things like that. But I'm thinking of something more than protest. I'm thinking of people organizing themselves and linking up with other people who may come from a different base but share a common vision of democracy, building on the commonality, broadening it, maybe having a broad social movement like the UDF was, but you can't reproduce the UDF in 2019. I think also we must understand that business, big business even, shares things with the poor, and we need to not ignore that, build something with them. Some things they can't be part of, but may not want to be part of. But I think, I'm not thinking of political parties, but I'm not excluding them. It's possible we can have new political parties. All I'm saying is, let's not look to the ANC alone.
And you refer to the allegation of Mosiuoa Lekota that President Cyril Ramaphosa betrayed his black consciousness comrades during detention in the 70s. Is it not important for the public to hear such claims?
If the claims are well backed, if there's evidence, why has Cyril Lekota waited it's 50 years or 60 years to make this allegation? Why has he waited so long? Seth Cooper was accused #1 in that trial, says he's never heard of this. Now, the problem about these allegations is that people have been killed for that. Ben Langa, the brother of late Pius Langa, Mandla Langa, the writer, and Bheki Langa, who I think is a diplomat at the moment, he was killed by MK Group, who had been fed information by an informer saying that Ben Langa was an informer. And you know, this is a sort of tragedy that can occur if you irresponsibly make these allegations. So much as the public ought to know if the leader of the country betrayed his comrades, if it's unfounded, if there's no basis and Cyril Lekota has not come with his evidence, if he says there's some document, maybe the police ought to have that. But I know in the case of my own files, I try to get them, and what's the name, Fullard, from a missing persons bureau said my files had definitely been incinerated. So it may be that those files, if there were files, were incinerated so that maybe he couldn't get them even if there were such a thing. But the question is, why has it only been raised now? I used to work with Cyril Lekota much more than Cyril, and he never said a word to me about this, and it's surprising, you know.
Thanks for speaking to us, Professor.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about part 2 of his opinion piece, 25 Years of Democracy.